stars above the transport ship blinked like tiny eyes watching in silence. Inside the control room, Commander Elena Cross sat still, her eyes locked on the blank screen in front of her. The crew behind her moved quietly, as if their whispers might disturb the silence of space. The ship, Vanguard Dawn, had drifted into the unknown. What was supposed to be a simple supply run now felt like a trap laid out by fate. Elena tightened her grip on the armrest. Her dark uniform, though clean and neat, had wrinkles around the elbows, proof of sleepless hours and growing tension. The crew had lost contact with command 2 days ago. No warning, no noise, just silence. It wasn't equipment failure. It wasn't interference. It was something else. Lieutenant Harris, the young officer in charge of communications, glanced at her. "Still nothing," he said, shaking his head. His voice was quiet, but the words felt loud in the tense air. "Keep scanning every frequency," Elena replied. "Don't stop." Beside Harris, Ensign Tova ran diagnostics again. She was methodical, never skipping steps, her hands moving swiftly across the console. Her face showed no fear, but her eyes blinked too often. She knew something was wrong. They all did. The Vanguard Dawn floated near a planet not marked on any chart, a swirling blue and green sphere with cloud bands that moved slower than Earth's. It looked beautiful, peaceful even. But Elena didn't trust beauty in unknown space. Often, the quietest places held the darkest secrets. The ship's AI, Vega, broke the silence with a soft tone. "Commander, a low-frequency pulse is being emitted from the planet's surface." Elena stood up. "Can you decode it?" "It does not match any known language or signal type," Vega replied calmly. "But it is repeating." "Repeating?" she asked. "Yes. A pulse every 33 seconds. Precise, unchanged." Elena exchanged glances with Harris. "Put it on audio." The room filled with a deep, soft tone. It rose and fell gently, like a heartbeat underwater. Everyone paused. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't random. It felt intentional. Tova leaned forward. "That doesn't sound natural." "No, it doesn't," Elena agreed. "Send a probe down to scan the surface." Within minutes, the small silver orb detached from the underside of the ship and glided toward the unknown planet. On the screen, the camera showed the outer atmosphere, thick clouds, glowing faintly green from within. It looked like a storm, but the probe moved through it with ease. "Gravity normal. No electromagnetic interference," Vega reported. "The pulse grows stronger as we descend." Below the clouds, a vast forest came into view. Towering trees, with silver leaves and black bark, stretched far in every direction. The trees swayed, though there was no visible wind. The signal was clearer now, louder, echoing through the probe's speakers like it was calling out to something. Or someone. Elena narrowed her eyes. "Scan for life." "No signs of intelligent movement," Vega answered. "But biological patterns are consistent with non-human life forms." The probe moved closer to a clearing. In the center stood a structure, tall, wide, and made of dark stone. It looked ancient, but not worn. Symbols were carved into the walls, glowing faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the signal. "Those markings," Tuva whispered, "they're not random." "No," Elena said. "They're repeating too, like the signal." Harris typed rapidly, pulling up old mission archives. "We've seen patterns like these before. A dig site on Mars, 30 years ago. It was kept classified." Elena's eyes narrowed. "Why?" No one could explain the symbols. The site collapsed before full analysis. The signal grew louder, clearer, now resonating through the ship. The crew covered their ears, but Elena stood firm. Her eyes were locked on the screen. The pulse, no longer sounded gentle. It had rhythm. It had purpose. "It's not a message," she said slowly. "It's a lock." Vega chimed in again. "I detect energy buildup beneath the structure. Something is activating." Suddenly the probe's visuals blurred. The screen flickered, then went black. "Probe offline," Vega reported. Everyone stared at the screen. Silence returned, heavier this time. Then something new happened. A message appeared in bold red letters across every monitor on the bridge. "Do not answer." Harris leaned back, pale. "Where did that come from?" "Not from the planet," Vega replied. "From outside our system." Elena's pulse quickened. "Track the origin." "I cannot," Vega said. "It's masking itself with technology more advanced than anything in our database." Elena turned toward the crew. "Get us out of orbit, now." Engines flared, and the ship started to move. But just as they did, a second message appeared. "Too late." The crew fell into stunned silence. The stars didn't blink anymore. They stared, unblinking, as if waiting for what would come next, and the pulse kept rising. The engines groaned as Vanguard Dawn pulled away from the planet's orbit, its lights blinking against the endless black. Inside, no one spoke. The red words still lingered in their minds. "Do not answer." Burned into their thoughts like a warning from something far beyond understanding. Commander Elena Cross stood at the front of the bridge, watching the retreat on the screen. The planet grew smaller behind them, swallowed by the darkness of space. Though they were moving away, the pulse didn't stop. The sound, though faint now, continued to hum quietly through the ship's systems. It was like a distant memory refusing to fade. Vega, the ship's AI, remained silent. Normally, the system offered reports or updates at regular intervals. Now, it said nothing unless prompted. Elena noticed. It wasn't fear, she told herself. It was logic. Machines didn't fear. But she felt something different in Vega's tone. An edge, a pause, as if the AI hesitated. "Status of the crew?" she asked finally. Harris, still seated at his station, blinked and answered. "Everyone's accounted for. No physical injuries. But morale is low." "Understandable," Elena said, walking slowly across the bridge. "We just heard a message that shouldn't exist, from something that shouldn't know we were there." Tova stared at her screen. What if it didn't come from the planet? What if something out there was watching us the whole time? That thought struck everyone in the room. Not only had they encountered a strange pulse, but something else had warned them. Something able to break through their secure systems. Something more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. Elena nodded slowly. "Keep scanning. I want to know if that message left any trace." As the ship moved farther from the planet, the signal began to fade. The pulse weakened, its echo dissolving into the background hum of space. But something else replaced it. A small file appeared on Harris's screen. No alerts, no warnings. Just a plain file with one word as its name. Record. He hesitated before speaking. "Commander, we've got something new. It's not from the planet. No origin listed." "Open it," Elena said. The screen flickered. A video started to play. The image was grainy, but clear enough to see a figure standing in front of a camera. It was human. Or at least, it looked human. A man in a simple uniform, the kind worn by Earth's early space explorers. His face was scarred, his eyes looked tired. Behind him was a wall of stone, covered in the same glowing symbols seen in the alien structure. The man began to speak. "If you're seeing this, then you found the planet. I don't know who you are, or when you've come, but listen carefully." Crew leaned in. "My name is Captain Joran Malik. Earth sent my ship here over 70 years ago. We were the first to land. We thought it was uncharted, untouched, silent. But we were wrong. The planet is not dead. It's watching. Always watching. He paused, looking away as if remembering something painful. It doesn't want us here. It doesn't kill you with weapons. It breaks your mind. Our crew started hearing things, seeing things. We turned on each other. The voices in the dark. They weren't ours. Tova gasped quietly. Malik continued. One by one, they vanished. I tried to leave. I tried everything. But every signal I sent only brought more ships. If you've come, it means the cycle hasn't ended. The screen flickered again, this time showing broken helmets scattered across a jungle floor. Human remains, crashed ships, faded flags. Evidence of many who came before and never returned. Malik's voice returned. The signal is bait. It draws us in. And the warning. If you received it, that means something's changed. You need to run. And never return. The video stopped. The bridge went still. Elena turned slowly. How is that possible? We never received any missions about previous landings here. Harris checked the date on the file. He wasn't lying. That video is over 70 years old. Did Earth cover it up? Tova asked. Or did no one survive to report it? Elena folded her arms. Maybe both. Just then, Vega's voice came back, softer than usual. Commander, there's something else. A trace signal following us. Weak. Not a threat yet. But it's there. What kind of signal? Same pattern as the planet's pulse, Vega replied. But it's moving. Elena's heart beat. Faster. Towards us? Yes. She looked at her crew. How far are we from the nearest jump point? 17 minutes, Harris said. Prepare for emergency jump, she ordered. I want everyone secured. Whatever this is, I don't want to find out. As the crew rushed to stations, the ship began to hum louder. Energy built up around the core. The engines brightened. The stars outside shifted slightly. But before the jump initiated, a final sound echoed through the ship. It was the pulse again. Clearer, louder, and closer than ever before. Then a new message flashed across every screen. You should have stayed. The jump countdown began. 10. 9. The crew braced. Lights dimmed. 8. 7. The screen flickered again. 6. 5. A shape formed in the dark outside. A large angular figure with no lights, no signal, no name. 4. 3. The signal reached its peak. 2. 1. And then, they vanished into the stars. The stars blinked once more as Vanguard Dawn exited the jump. Space stretched around them, quiet, still, and vast. The system they entered was uncharted, chosen at random to avoid detection. But silence now felt heavier, not safer. Commander Elena Cross stood near the central display, scanning the results. All systems appeared stable. The crew had survived the jump, yet something was off. The pulse was gone, but a strange pressure still lingered, like static before a storm. Lieutenant Harris, sitting at the communication console, looked unsettled. No signals, no ships, no stations. We're alone, he reported. Elena nodded slowly. Good. Let's stay hidden until we understand what followed us. Tova, standing near the navigation panel, examined the new surroundings. The area was filled with large asteroids, slowly drifting in wide arcs. Most were lifeless rocks, but one stood out. A tall vertical slab floating by itself. It wasn't natural. Smooth on all sides, shaped like a giant blade, it reflected no light. Commander, she said, pointing to the screen. That doesn't belong here. Elena turned to Vega. What is that structure? The AI responded calmly. Material unknown, no heat signature, no energy output. But it's moving. slowly rotating, without outside force. Scan it. Thoroughly, Elena ordered. The sensors returned confusing data. No metal, no known elements. The surface appeared solid, yet absorbed all forms of radiation. It was as if it didn't exist. Yet there it was, visible to the eye. "What do you think it is?" Harris asked. "Not a message," Elena said. "A marker, a warning. Maybe even a gate." Suddenly the bridge lights flickered. Not fully dark, but dim enough to make hearts race. Vega paused before speaking again. "System interference detected," the AI announced. "Not internal. External influence breaching sensor integrity." Elena clenched her jaw. "Is it that thing?" "No source detected," Vega answered. "But the effect is spreading." The crew exchanged looks. Everyone remembered the last time strange signals crept into their systems. This felt the same, but colder, slower, like something creeping behind the walls. Then a noise rang out. Not a mechanical alert, not a computer glitch, but a faint whisper across the bridge. A voice none of them recognized, speaking in a language no translator could identify. Elena raised her hand. "Record that. Loop it. Try pattern analysis." Harris complied, fingers flying across the console. Tova began adjusting the visual sensors, trying to capture the origin of the sound. The whisper returned, clearer now. It repeated 4 syllables. "Over and over. Any translation yet?" Elena asked. Harris frowned. "No match to known databases. But the pattern—" He stopped, eyes wide. "It's identical to the Mars dig site. Same cadence, same syllable rhythm." Elena's mind raced. Then whatever was on Mars, it's connected to this. Before more could be said, the ship shuddered. Not from impact, but as if the space around them warped slightly. A flicker of light pulsed through the bridge windows, as if a distant star blinked unnaturally. "Commander," Vega said slowly, "I believe we are not in the same region of space anymore." "What?" Tova turned sharply. "Our jump was clean," Vega continued. "But something pulled us. Our coordinates no longer match known maps." Elena narrowed her eyes. "Pulled? By what?" Vega paused. "Unknown. But based on sensor drift and gravitational flow, we may be inside a controlled space. Artificial. Shaped." "You mean we're in something?" Harris asked. "Possibly," the AI confirmed. No one moved for a long moment. Then, the whispering stopped. The silence that followed was deeper than before. Tova stared at the main screen. "It's gone." "What is?" Elena asked. "The structure. The blade. It's not on scans. Not visually. Not on radar." Elena stepped closer. "So, either it moved, or we did." She turned to Harris. "Replay the whispering audio. Slower." He adjusted the speed, then pressed play. The bridge filled with the eerie voice again. Slowed. The 4 syllables became clearer, each stretched and haunting. Vega analyzed the sound as it played. "Translation. Possible," the AI said. "Hypothesis. Ancient dialect. Possibly pre-human." "Meaning?" Elena asked. "Rough interpretation. It remembers everything." A chill ran through the crew. Before anyone could respond, a loud tone filled the ship, no longer a whisper but a deep bell-like ring. One single note that vibrated through the walls and the bones. Then, one by one, monitors across the bridge began to show new images. Not video, not maps, memories. Harris saw his sister, lost years ago in a failed colony mission. Tova saw the forest, where she once played as a child. Elena saw the crash site of her first command, where she'd lost 10 crew members. Every screen showed a moment of personal pain. It's in our minds, Tova whispered. No, Elena said quietly. It's pulling from them. Vega confirmed. Neural signals being accessed. Visual centers responding to emotional stimuli. This is not an attack. It's an invitation. To what? Harris asked. The monitors went black. Then a final message appeared on the central screen. It never forgot you. Will you remember it? The pulse returned, soft again, but different now. It had a rhythm, a voice, a memory. The crew of Vanguard Dawn sat in silence. Around them, the hum of the ship seemed louder, as if space itself had stopped to listen. The message on the screen remained, "It never forgot you. Will you remember it?" And no one dared to speak. Commander Elena Cross stepped closer to the console. Her eyes scanned the words, not for meaning, but for intent. Something about the message felt personal, not like a threat, not like a trap, more like a question. "Vega," she said, her voice steady, "is this message directed at us as a group, or to someone specific?" The AI responded after a short pause. Analyzing linguistic structure. The phrasing suggests familiarity, possibly aimed at an individual with prior contact. Tova looked uneasy. How could that be possible? We've never been here before. No, Elena agreed. But someone else might have. And maybe one of us has a connection we don't realize. Lieutenant Harris leaned forward. We need to think clearly. That signal, it reached into our minds. It showed us moments we don't speak about. Things buried deep. Then it knows us, Tova said. But why? No one had an answer. But something inside Elena shifted. A memory surfaced. She hadn't thought about it in years. A dream from childhood. A large stone with symbols, glowing softly. A whisper in a language she didn't know, but somehow understood. She shook her head. Dreams weren't real. But then again, neither were voices in space. She turned. Tova, scan the ship's logs. Search for anything from Earth's archives. Missions, files, crew records, anything that links to those symbols. Tova began the search. Meanwhile, Harris focused on the external sensors. The strange space around them remained still. Yet something moved far off. A faint shadow circling the distant stars. It was too large to be debris. Too quiet to be a ship. He watched carefully, fingers tense on the controls. Minutes passed. Then, Tova gasped. I found something. It's not in our public system. It was locked behind a restricted tag. One of those only command-level clearance can open. Elena stepped beside her. Show me. The file was old, over a century. The title read Project Echo Contact Unknown, a mission to explore deep space anomalies. The report listed 5 ships. 4 were lost. 1 returned, heavily damaged. The sole survivor had no memory of the event. Just one thing was clear. The survivor had drawn strange shapes, nearly identical to the symbols seen on the alien structure. Who was the survivor? Elena asked. Tova clicked through. The name appeared on screen. Elena's breath caught. Joran Malik, Harris read aloud. The same man from the warning video. Elena turned away. Her voice was tight. That man was my mother's first commander. He was missing for years. When he returned, he quit the force, disappeared completely. Now the messages made more sense. The system they entered, the voice, the whisper. All of it tied to Malik. And through him, somehow, to Elena. I think I was meant to come here, she said, more to herself than the others. Before anyone could reply, a soft pulse returned. But this time, it didn't fill the speakers. It came through the floor, through the walls, like a heartbeat inside the ship. Lights dimmed again. A new image filled the main screen. A long hallway made of black stone stretched ahead. The floor shimmered like water, yet remained solid. At the far end stood a single door, covered in markings. And in front of that door, a person stood still. It was Malik, older than in the video, thinner, with eyes that glowed faintly. He raised a hand not to wave, but to gesture, to invite. Harris checked the feeds. This isn't a recording, it's a live feed. Where is it coming from? Elena asked. Inside the structure we saw earlier. But it vanished, Tova said. Vega responded. It did not vanish, it shifted. The image is being projected from somewhere beneath our current position. Elena straightened. Prepare a landing shuttle, I'm going. No, Tova said quickly. That's dangerous. You saw what happened to the others. This is different, Elena replied. Malik is alive, and he knows something. Maybe he never left. Maybe the planet or whatever this is kept him here for a reason. Harris stood too. Then we're coming with you. No, Elena said firmly. You stay here. If I don't return in an hour, jump out. Don't wait. They wanted to protest, but the look in her eyes said no. Minutes later, Elena entered the shuttle. The doors sealed behind her. Alone, she descended into the strange space below, toward the unseen surface. The deeper she went, the more everything around her seemed to change. Stars outside faded. Time slowed. The pulse beat stronger. Then the shuttle stopped. Doors opened. In front of her the same black hallway waited, and at the end of it Joran Malik turned. He smiled. Not with joy, but with sadness. You came, he said. Elena stepped forward. What is this place? Malik looked up at the strange sky above. This is memory, he said. And it never forgets. Elena Cross followed Malik through the black hallway. The ground beneath her feet felt solid, but it rippled slightly with each step, like walking on shallow water. The air had no temperature. There was no wind, no sound. Just the faint echo of their footsteps. Malik walked slowly, hands behind his back. His thin frame moved with care, as if he hadn't used his legs in years. His face, though older and pale, carried calmness. He didn't speak right away. He seemed to be listening, to the walls, the air, something hidden all around them. Elena kept her eyes forward. Her uniform brushed lightly against the smooth walls. Strange symbols flickered faintly as she passed. None were familiar, but she felt them tugging at her thoughts. Like the symbols weren't written for the eyes, but for the mind. At last, Malik stopped in front of a stone door. It had no handle, no seam, yet it opened when he stepped closer, parting like mist. Behind it, a wide chamber spread out. The ceiling curved high above, filled with slow-moving lights, as if stars were trapped inside the walls. This place, Malik said, his voice soft, was never built, it was grown. Elena stepped into the chamber, eyes searching every corner. The floor was smooth and dark, like the hallway. In the center stood a raised platform with a single pillar. It glowed faintly, humming with quiet energy. What is it? She asked. Malik walked around it. A recorder. But not for sound. It holds memories. Not just thoughts, but everything. Fear, hope, regret. Elena stared at him. You've been here since the crash? Yes, he said. But not how you think. I didn't survive. Not completely. She frowned. You're alive. I'm a shadow of what I was, he replied. This place doesn't kill. It changes you, keeps you. He touched the pillar. Images appeared in the air. Quick flashes, faces, ships, explosions, planets turning to dust. A child holding a toy. A soldier crying in silence. Elena recognized some faces, old photos from Earth's records. Others were strangers. All looked real. This is what it keeps, Malik said. Every mind it touches, it remembers. Every pain, every moment lost. Why? Elena asked. He turned to her. Because it was made to preserve what the universe throws away. When civilizations fall. When stars die. This place gathers what's left. Elena stepped closer to the pillar. Her heart beat faster. The glow pulsed gently, like it was breathing. She felt something brush her thoughts. Not forceful, but present. Curious. You said it never forgets, she whispered. Malik nodded. And now it wants you to remember too. The chamber darkened. A new image formed above the pillar. Elena's mother. Younger, stronger, standing in her old ship uniform. Behind her stood others from her squad. They were laughing, alive. Elena's eyes filled with tears. How does it have this? It saw her, Malik said. It sees through blood, through memory passed down. You carry more than your own story. Elena turned away, shaken. And what does it want from me? Malik was quiet for a moment. Then he said, It's preparing. For what? For silence, he answered. It senses something coming. A dark space. Empty. Without sound. Or light. A force that destroys not by fire, but by forgetting. Elena shook her head. That's not possible. Not yet, he said. But it's growing. She looked around the room. The lights in the walls flickered faster now. They pulsed in rhythm with the pillar. Everything felt more alive. What can I do? She asked. Accept it, he said. Let it remember through you. Carry its warning. Share what was lost. Then what happens to you? I stay, Malik replied. I belong here now. Elena stepped back from the pillar. The images faded. The glow softened. She took a deep breath. Her mind felt full, like she had lived 100 lives in seconds, but her body was steady. She could still move, still choose. I'll tell them, she said. I'll speak for what this place has seen. Malik smiled gently. Then you'll be the first. She turned, ready to leave, but stopped at the doorway. Will I see you again? Only if memory allows it, he said. The hallway lit up as she walked back. The walls no longer flickered. They glowed calmly. The ground no longer rippled. It felt firm, like the path had accepted her. The shuttle waited silently at the surface. Elena climbed in and closed the door. As it rose, she looked down. The black hallway was gone. The surface below was smooth and empty, like nothing had ever been there. Back aboard Vanguard Dawn, the crew watched as Elena stepped out of the shuttle. Tova rushed forward. What did you see? She asked. Elena didn't answer right away. She looked around the room. The people, the lights, the weight of her memories pressing gently behind her eyes. She took a slow breath. I saw what we forget, she said, and what still remembers us. The Vanguard Dawn hummed quietly as Elena sat in the debriefing chamber. Her hands rested on the smooth table, her thoughts still far below, where the black hallway had vanished into nothingness. Around her, the crew waited, silent and focused. Tova leaned forward. Was he really alive? Elena nodded. In a way, his body survived, but the man was different. Time didn't pass the same for him. He belonged to that place now. Lieutenant Harris crossed his arms. Did he explain what it all meant? The memory chamber, the symbols, the voice in our minds. Elena took a breath. He said the structure wasn't built. It grew. It exists to preserve what would otherwise be lost. Not just people, but thoughts, emotions, even pain. The room stayed quiet. Outside the large windows, stars drifted by slowly. The stillness felt heavier now, like space itself was listening. It chose to speak to us, she continued. Or maybe it needed to. Something is coming. Malik called it the silence, a force that doesn't destroy by fire or war, but by erasing. It removes all traces, no ruins, no memories, just absence. Tova shivered. How do we fight something like that? We don't, Elena said, but we remember. That's the only defense, to carry stories forward, to protect the past. The crew looked at one another, some confused, some afraid, but none doubted her words. Harris cleared his throat. We still have no proof, just what he told you. No scans, no recordings. It's like nothing happened. No, Elena said gently. It happened. It just doesn't leave fingerprints. Tova stood and walked to the control panel. There is one thing, she said. Before you returned, the ship received another signal. Just a short pulse. I saved it. She tapped a button. The lights dimmed. A single tone echoed through the chamber, soft, steady, like a heartbeat from far away. As it faded, a phrase appeared on the central screen. Remember us. Elena stared at the words. That's not a message. That's a request. The crew stayed still, unsure what to say. The weight of it pressed on them, not as fear, but as a call. A responsibility. Later, as the ship traveled toward safer regions, Elena met with Vega in the command room. The AI's calm voice broke the silence. Commander, you accessed memories within the structure. Are you experiencing after effects? Yes, she admitted. I see things that didn't happen to me. I remember moments that aren't mine. Would you like me to scan your neural activity? Vega asked. No, she said softly. Let them stay. I think that's the point. Vega remained quiet for a moment, then said, There is something else. A pattern within the message, hidden beneath the surface tone. Elena raised an eyebrow. What kind of pattern? Coordinates, Vega replied. A location far beyond known space, deep in the outer edge of the galactic rim. It's marked by the same rhythm used by the memory structure. Elena stared at the screen. Another site? Possibly, the AI confirmed. She turned away from the console, eyes fixed on the endless stars. Or maybe that's where the silence begins. Days passed. The crew carried on with repairs and system checks. But everyone felt the change. They spoke more carefully. They shared old stories over meals. Laughter returned, but with new meaning. Softer, more precious. Elena found herself writing. Small notes. Stories from the images she saw. She didn't care if they made sense. She only wanted them remembered. Every page held someone else's pain, hope, or loss. She left copies in different corners of the ship, hidden where someone might find them later. Tova helped her create a backup of the ship's logs. Harris built a file labeled Echo Protocol. Inside, they stored everything they could. Names, events, even rumors. Anything that mattered, and the signal never returned. Until one evening, just before lights dimmed for rest cycles, a new message appeared on the bridge screen. Another one has forgotten. The crew gathered quickly. Elena stepped forward. The message blinked once, then disappeared. No coordinates, no sound, just silence. Vega ran a deep scan. The signal came from the far rim. It was faint but deliberate. Tova stared at the screen. So it started? Elena nodded. Somewhere out there, another memory was lost. She turned to her crew. Then we have work to do. They didn't need orders. Each person understood. This wasn't a mission anymore. It was a duty. To preserve, to speak, to leave traces. The ship adjusted course, not toward safety, but toward the unknown, to the place where silence had begun. And as the stars passed silently by, Vanguard Dawn became something more than a vessel. It became a witness. The stars outside Vanguard Dawn drifted in slow silence. They blinked like quiet signals, each one holding its own story. Inside the ship, the crew worked without rush but with quiet focus. Their destination was unknown, but their purpose was clear. Elena Cross stood in the observation bay. The window stretched across the wall, showing endless space. She had stood here before, but something about it felt different now. It wasn't just a view. It was a promise. Each light, each distant world, might be the last home of a memory not yet forgotten. Harris entered, carrying a datapad. Another entry came in. From an old probe, one sent years ago and believed lost. It found something. Elena turned. Where? Near the rim, he said. Not a planet, not even a star. Just a black field, flat and empty. No reflection, no gravity, but the signal matches the one we heard. Has anything gone in and returned? No, he said quietly. But there are echoes, like faint cries, repeating in loops. It's like it holds voices that don't know they're gone. Elena looked back at the stars. That's where we're going. Tova's voice came over. The comm. Commander, we're approaching the coordinates, but the sensors can't measure the space ahead. It's like we're flying into a blank sheet. Prepare for full-spectrum recording, Elena said. If anything happens, we keep the record alive. The ship moved forward slowly. The engines hummed evenly, but everyone on board felt the shift. Ahead, the stars began to thin. The space grew darker, not just in color, but in feeling. Like something ahead was not just empty, but hollow. Vega, the ship's AI, gave an update. We have entered the designated zone. No external motion detected. Communication still functioning, but degraded. Then the lights on the bridge dimmed, slightly. Not from a failure, but as if something beyond the walls pressed inward, testing their presence. A deep, soft tone rang through the ship. A familiar one. A single note. The same sound that played before every message. Elena stood straight. Everyone to recording stations. Keep logs running, even if it gets quiet. But it didn't get quiet. Instead, the darkness outside began to move. Not fast, not sudden, but a slow ripple, like a curtain being lifted. Tova's voice broke in. Commander, I'm picking up structures. Shapes hidden in the dark. They're not natural. On the screen, long vertical forms appeared, pillars without end, rising and falling through the black. Between them, flashes of images flickered. Hands reaching, faces fading, voices calling names that no one had spoken in years. Harris stepped back. Their memories, not ours, someone else's. Elena stared at the display. Or everyone's. Then, a message appeared, not typed, not spoken, but directly into their screens. It shimmered in soft white letters. If you remember, you exist. Vega spoke again, its voice strangely slower. Systems are being rewritten, not damaged, adjusted. Tova leaned in. The signal is rewriting our history logs. It's filling in stories, memories we never recorded. Harris opened the new files. This is a log from a ship destroyed 80 years ago. The crew's last thoughts, their fears, their names. It's restoring them. The message changed. Nothing is lost if it's shared. Elena felt her chest tighten. This isn't a warning. It's a gift. It's saving what would be erased. Suddenly the ship shuddered. Only once. The lights flashed, and the sound vanished. Then silence. Not dead silence, but peaceful. Tova whispered, "What just happened?" Vega responded calmly, "Transfer complete. The memory structure has been embedded in this vessel. Vanguard." Dawn is now a carrier, Elena breathed deeply. We carry stories now, from the past, from the forgotten. Harris looked at her. What do we do with them? She answered without pause. We share them. The ship turned gently, moving out of the black field. The stars returned, brighter than before. The weight that pressed on their minds was gone, replaced by something warmer, like a fire still burning, passed from hand to hand. Elena returned to the command seat. Set a course for populated systems. We'll tell the stories one by one. Every planet, every station, every soul willing to listen. Tova smiled slightly. We're the library now. Harris tapped the comms panel. Then let's open the first book. And so, Vanguard Dawn sailed forward, not just as a ship, but as a beacon, carrying voices of those long gone, fighting the silence not with weapons, but with remembrance.